Are you ready? Time is yours. 1, 2, 3.
Lesson 6. Teacher. At the village, I decided to visit a seller called Madame Belinsky. I went into her tent and she told me to sit down. After I had given her some money, she looked into a crystal ball and said, "A relation of yours is coming to see you. She will be arriving this evening and intends to stay for a few days. The
Few days
moment
atau few days?
few days. The moment you leave this tent, you will get a big surprise. A woman you know will
Naik.
a woman you know well will rush towards you. She will speak to you and then she will lead you away from this place. That is all." As soon as I went outside, I forgot all about Madame Belinsky because my wife hurried towards me. "Where have you been hiding?" she asked impatiently. "Your sister will be here in less than an hour, and you must be at the station to meet her. We are late already." As she walked away, I followed her out of the fair. Lesson 61. Dangerous Descent. In future, astronauts will be required to descend from a spaceship while it is still in space and to return to it. The ability to do this will be necessary in future flights to distant planets. Scientists are now trying to discover if this is possible. The spaceship Astra, which left the Earth a short time ago, will be traveling 300 miles into space. At a certain point, the Astra will stop for a short time and an astronaut will attempt to leave the stationary spaceship and then return to it. We shall not know whether the experiment has been successful until we have received a radio message. The first message is expected to arrive at 7 o'clock this evening. By that time, the Astra will have been flying through space for 17 hours and will have circled the Earth a great many times. When the first radio messages have been received, the results of the trip will be immediately.
No, announce it. Announced.
Announced immediately. Lesson 62. After the fire. Firemen had been fighting the forest fire for nearly 3 weeks before they could get it under control. A short time before, great trees had from the warm ground over the hills. Winter was coming on, and the hills threatened the surrounding villages with destruction. For heavy rain would For heavy rain would not only wash away the soil but would cause certain roads as well. When the fire had at last been put out, authorities ordered several tons of a special grass seed which would grow quickly. The seed was sprayed over the ground in huge quantities by aeroplanes. The planes had been planting seed for nearly a month when it began to rain. By then, however, in many places the grass had already taken root. In place of the great trees which had been growing there for centuries, patches of green had begun to appear in the blackened soil. Lesson 63. She was not amused. Geoffrey had been
Yes.
Geoffrey had then has a large circle of friends and is very popular at parties. Everybody admires him for his fine sense of humor, everybody. That is, except his 6-year-old daughter. Recently, one of Geoffrey's closest friends asked him to make a speech at a wedding reception. This is the sort of thing that Geoffrey loves. He prepared the speech carefully and went to the wedding with Jenny. He had included a large number of funny stories in the speech, and of course, it was a great success. As soon as he had finished, Jenny told him she wanted to go home. Geoffrey was a little disappointed by this, but he did as his daughter asked. On the way home, he asked Jenny if she had enjoyed the speech. To his surprise, she said she hadn't. Geoffrey asked her why this was so, and she told him that she did not like to see so many people laughing at him. Lesson 64. The Channel Tunnel. In
The
18,
channel tunnel. Yeah.
in 1858, a French engineer, Aim Tom de Gammon, arrived in England with a plan for a 21-mile tunnel across the English Channel. He said that it would be possible to build a platform in the center of the channel. This platform would serve as, a port and a railway station. The tunnel would be well the tunnel would be well ventilated if tall chimneys were built above sea level. In 1860, a better plan was
Okay.
A better plan was put forward by an Englishman, William Lowe. He suggested that a double railway tunnel should be built. This would solve the problem of ventilation, for if a train entered this tunnel, it would draw in fresh air behind it. For 2 years later, a tunnel was actually begun. If, at the time, the British had not feared inflation, it would have been completed. Recently, there has again been great interest in idea of a channel tunnel. If it is built, it will connect Britain to a rope for the first time in history. Lesson 65. Jumbo versus the police. Last Christmas, The, the circus owner, Jimmy Gates, decided to take some presents to a children's hospital. Dressed up as a father, Christmas, and accompanied by a guard of honor of 6 pretty girls. He set off down the main street of the city riding a baby elephant called Jumbo. He should have known that the police would never allow this sort of thing. A policeman approached Jimmy and told him he ought to have gone along a side street as Jumbo was holding up the traffic. So Jimmy agreed to go at once. Jumbo refused to move. 15 policemen had to push very hard to get him off the main street. The police had a difficult time, but they were most amused. Jumbo must weigh a few tons, said a policeman afterwards, so it was fortunate that we didn't have to carry him. Of course, we should arrest him, but as he has a good record, we shall let him off this time. Lesson 66. Cycling through the air. The Hatfield Puffin is a modern aeroplane, but its designer, Mr. John Wimpey, is finding it difficult to get it off the ground. The reason for this is that his plane is also a bicycle. It's fire pedal hard to get it into the air. After Mr. Wimp had the plane built, it was tested thoroughly. In 1961, it was the first man-powered aircraft to fly half a mile, while being flown by a champion amateur cyclist in 1963. The plane crashed on an airfield. Since then, Mr. Wimpey has had it rebuilt. Had the length of the wings increased so that they now measure 90, 93 feet, almost as long as those of a Dakota. Many people have shown interest in this new and unusual sport, but tough air cyclists may learn how to fly over short distances and may eventually even get across the English Channel. It is doubtful whether they will ever cycle across the Atlantic. Lesson 67. Volcanoes. Around Kashmir, the Polish scientist has spent his lifetime studying active volcanoes. In 1958, he went to Lake Kivu in the Congo to observe a new volcano which he later named Kituro. Tazif was able to set up his camp very close to the volcano while it was erupting violently. So, he managed to take a number of brilliant photographs. He could not stay near the volcano for very long. He noticed that a river of liquid rock was coming towards him. It threatened to surround him completely, but Tazif managed to escape just in time. He waited until the volcano became quiet and he was able to return 2 days later. This time, he managed to climb into the mouth of Kituro so that he could take photographs and measure temperatures. Razif has often risked his life in this way. He has been able to tell us more about active volcanoes than any man alive. Lesson 68. Persistent. I crossed the street to avoid meeting him, but he saw me and came running towards me. It was no use pretending that I had not seen him, so I waved to him. I never enjoy going back dikes. He never has anything to do. No matter how busy you are, he always insists on coming with you. He has to think of a way of preventing him from following me around all morning. Hello, Bert, I said. Fancy meeting you here. Hello, Elizabeth, Bert answered. I was just wondering how to spend the morning until I saw you. You're not busy doing anything, are you? No, not at all, I answered. I'm going to. Would you mind my coming with you? He asked. If only I had finished speaking. Not at all, but I'm going to the dentist. Then I'll come with you, he answered. There's always plenty to read in the waiting room. Lesson 69. No murder. Driving test for a driving license for the third time.
License.
License for the third time. I had been asked to drive in heavy traffic and had done so successfully. After having been instructed to drive out of town, I began to acquire confidence. Sure that I had passed, I was almost beginning to enjoy my test. The examiner must have been pleased with my performance, for his for he smiled and said, "Just one more thing, Mr. Ames. Let, let us suppose that a child suddenly crosses the road in front of you. As soon as I tap on the window, I want the car to be stopped immediately. I continued driving and after some I continued.
I continued.
I,
I
con-
continued.
I continued driving, and after some time, the examiner taped
Sometime or
sometime.
okay.
The examiner taped loudly, so the sound could be heard clearly. I suddenly pressed the brake pedal hard, and we were both thrown forward. The examiner looked at me sadly. "Mr. Innes," he said in a mournful voice, "you have just killed that child." Lesson 70. Red for danger. During a bullfight, a drunk suddenly wandered into the middle of the ring. The crowd began to shout, but the drunk was unaware of the danger. The bull was busy with the matador at the time, but it suddenly caught sight of the drunk who was shouting rude remarks and waving a red cap. Appar-
Apparently.
Apparently sensitive
Nampaknya.
to critic to critics to criticism. The bull forgot
Man,
critic,
criticism. Criticism.
criticism. The bull forgot the bull forgot all about the matador and charged at the drunk. The crowd suddenly grew quiet. The drunk, however, seemed quite sure of himself. When the bull got close to him, he clumsily stepped aside to let it pass. The crowd broke into cheers and the drunk bowed. By this time, however, three men had come into the ring and they quickly drenched the drunk to safety. Even the bull seemed to feel sorry for him. For it, for it looked on sympathetic,
Sympathetically.
sympa, sympathetically.
Elia ya. Ada Elianya nggak?
Ada.
Ya, sympathetically.
Sympathetically until the drunk was out of the way before once more turning its attention to the matador. Done.
Oke, sekian. Prosesan aja ya. Proses menyambungkan katanya. Jadi itu terus saja berproses untuk menemukannya karena yang paling tepat menemukannya adalah ada Anda sendiri gitu. Ya, kita mungkin saja apa yang orang lain miliki itu berbeda dengan gaya temukan cara sendiri dengan memperjuangkannya sendiri gitu. Dan tentu dengan bacaan ini, menyelesaikan bacaan ini akan sangat membantu di mana kualitas Anda akan muncul. Thank you.